Okay, it is 4:45 in the morning. The city is still dark. You are already awake, not because an alarm went off, because the math won't let you sleep. Rent is due in 4 days. The icebox has cornmeal and a half jar of lard. There are 2 children in the next room. And today, like every day for the past year, you are going to have to go out and fight for the right to work. In a country that has already decided you are last in line. This is 1933. This is America. And this is your life. Today, we are going to spend one full day inside the lived experience of Black Americans during the Great Depression. Not as a lecture about statistics, but as a ground level account of what it actually felt like to wake up, go out, and try to survive inside a system that was structured against you before the crash ever happened. 2 people, 1 day, everything it cost them to get through it. Okay, before we step out that door, you need to understand what kind of world you are stepping into, because this is not the depression most people picture. When historians say the Great Depression peaked around 1932 and 1933, they usually anchor the story to one number, roughly 25% unemployment, 1 in 4 Americans out of work. That number is devastating. It reshaped the country, but that was the white unemployment rate. For Black Americans, the number was closer to 50%, 1 in 2. And in some northern cities, it was even higher. Estimates from Bureau of Labor Statistics data for urban areas put it above 56%. That's crazy, right? Half the Black workforce gone. And here is the thing that made it worse. This was not just bad luck or bad timing. Black Americans had not entered the 1920s on equal footing. They were sharecroppers, domestics, janitors, manual laborers, the jobs that white workers had considered beneath them. Then the crash came. Suddenly those jobs looked fine. And Black workers were pushed out of the only work they had ever been allowed to hold. Last hired, first fired is how it gets described in textbooks. But that phrase is too clean. What actually happened was more deliberate than that. Foremen walked down lines of workers and pointed at white faces. Factories rewrote job descriptions. Employers who had employed Black workers for decades replaced them one by one with unemployed white workers who now needed the wages. And the federal government, when it finally stepped in with relief, handed a significant portion of that relief to Southern white administrators who had their own ideas about who deserved help. This is the floor you are standing on when the alarm doesn't go off at 4:45 a.m. You were already behind. The depression just made it structural. Before we get into the full day, a quick word from the sponsor who helps make this kind of work possible, topictovideo.com. Have you ever thought about making money on YouTube but didn't want to show your face? Good news, you're already watching proof it works. This video, it's faceless. No camera, no on-screen host, just a topic, a voice, and a main character that connects with the audience. That main character is me, and these visuals are how I keep you watching. And here's the wild part. You don't need a studio. You don't need editing skills. You don't need to write scripts. You don't need animation skills, voice acting talent, expensive software, or a single piece of equipment. You don't even need a microphone. Topictovideo.com does all of it for you. Type your topic, get a finished video ready to upload to your channel. Voiceover, visuals, captions, thumbnail, and even shorts. Your first video is free at topictovideo.com. No credit card needed to start. Create the channel you've been putting off with topictovideo.com today. All right, the man leaves before sunrise. He is wearing his best work clothes, not because they are impressive, but because looking employed is part of getting employed. A worn jacket patched at the elbows. Clean enough? He has been a skilled laborer. He knows how to do this work. That is not the problem. The day labor corner is 8 blocks away, and he walks fast because position in line matters. The foreman who comes by with the truck, usually around 6:30 or 7 in the morning, does not run a formal process. He walks the line, looks at faces, and picks. And the men at the front have a better chance. Not a guaranteed chance, a better one. By the time he arrives, there are already 20 men standing there. Most of them are black, some are white, and he knows, without having to think about it, that the white men will be picked first. Not all of them, not always, but first. The truck comes. The foreman walks the line. He is looking for men who look sturdy, capable, and, though no one says it out loud, white. He picks 4 men, 3 are white, 1 is black, a younger man, maybe 19. The foreman names a wage. For the white men, it is $1.25 for the day. For the one black man selected, he says $0.90. The man in line does the math. He needs $1.25. He needs more than $1.25. But $0.90 is not nothing. And nothing is what the other men are walking home with. He is not selected today. He stays at the corner. Another truck might come. Sometimes a second truck comes by mid-morning looking for laborers to fill a gap somewhere. He will wait. Waiting costs nothing except time. And time is the one resource he has in abundance this morning. Okay, across town, the woman arrived at the white family's house at 6 a.m. She has been working here for 2 years. The house is a 3-bedroom row home in a neighborhood she is not supposed to linger in after dark. Her employer is not cruel, exactly. She does not raise her voice. She pays, though not always on time and sometimes in food rather than cash. This week, the arrangement is $3.50 in cash plus whatever she can carry home from the kitchen scraps. For the week, not the day, the week. $3.50 for a week's work. Her job is not one thing. It is floors, laundry, cooking, watching the employer's 2 young children, ironing, and whatever else arises. The family does not think of this as exploitation. They think of it as the going rate, which it is, because the going rate was set inside a system that treated black women's labor as nearly free. A 1939 testimony collected by the Federal Writers Project from a black domestic worker in the South put it this way: "We poor Negro women have to work. 18 hours out of 24 is killing our women." She is on her knees scrubbing the kitchen floor by 6:15. The smell is bleach and lye soap. Her knuckles are already cracked from yesterday. The employer's children will wake up around 7:30 and need breakfast. She will make that breakfast, serve it, clean up after it, and then begin the laundry. There is no scheduled end time to her day. Yeah, by mid-morning, the second truck has not come. The man walks 12 blocks to the relief office. It is not his first time here. The line starts outside the building and runs down the block. He has been standing in it for 40 minutes when he finally gets inside. To a counter staffed by a white administrator who is holding a clipboard and looking at the line like he resents every person in it. The questions are designed to disqualify. Are you currently employable? Do you have family members who can support you? Have you sought other work this week? The man answers honestly. The administrator makes marks on the form. He tells the man the office has reached its quota for Negro applicants this week. He can come back Monday. This was not an anomaly. In 1934, the Federal Emergency Relief Administration reported that black applicants across the South were routinely denied or given fractional allocations. Local administrators controlled the money, and local administrators had their own priorities. A Florida relief director cut black aid by 40% using employability tests that were applied selectively. In Mississippi, federal subsidy payments for the Agricultural Adjustment Act, payments designed to help farmers, went directly to white landowners, who used the cash and then evicted the black tenants whose labor had worked the land. That's crazy. Federal money meant to stabilize farms accelerated the eviction of black families from those same farms. The man leaves the relief office with nothing. He walks 6 blocks to the church. The church basement smells like navy beans and candle wax. There are folding tables set up along the far wall. A woman with a ladle is serving soup from a pot big enough to hold a child. The line is mostly men, workers who came up empty this morning, but there are mothers here too, with children and elderly people who have no one left to ask. The black church was not a backup plan. It was the plan. For most black families in urban America during the Depression, the federal government was not a reliable source of anything. The church was soup kitchens, rent assistance, shared food, emergency collections. These were not charitable extras. They were the difference between a family losing their apartment on Thursday or holding on until Friday. The man gets a bowl of soup and a piece of cornbread. He eats slowly. He listens. The deacon is at one of the tables keeping a notebook. Who needs rent help most urgently this week? Who has already received assistance? Who has something to contribute? It is a community accounting system run without ledgers or loans, sustained entirely by the agreement that everyone gives what they have and everyone takes what they need. Somebody mentions A. Philip Randolph. The Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters won union recognition in 1937 after 12 years of organizing, and Randolph's name in a church basement in 1933 carries a particular weight, not triumph yet, but direction. Proof that organizing is possible, that the machinery of change, slow as it is, can move. Yeah. Even here, in a basement soup kitchen, there is a political conversation happening because the people eating this soup are not waiting for someone to save them. They are building the infrastructure that will eventually force the question. The man gets home at 2 in the afternoon. He earned nothing today. Pinned to the door is a notice. The landlord is raising the rent by $0.50 a week effective next month. The current rent is $4.50 a week for 2 rooms. The raise will bring it to $5.00. This is not a large sum in the abstract. In the context of a household with no income today, it is the distance between manageable and impossible. He sits at the kitchen table and does the arithmetic out loud. He needs to clear roughly $5.00 a week to cover rent alone. At the day labor rate he was offered this morning, $0.90, he would need to work 6 full days just to cover the roof. That is assuming he gets selected every day, which he does not. The NRA codes passed under the New Deal in 1933 allowed Southern industries to legally pay black workers 20 to 30% less than white workers doing identical work. The federal government wrote that into the code. It was not informal bias. It was policy. So the money coming in is structurally lower than what a white man doing the same work would earn. And the money going out, rent, food, fuel, does not adjust for race. The options available to him are the options available to most black families in this situation. Take in a boarder. The apartment is already 2 rooms, but a cot in the front room brings in an extra $1 a week. Ask the deacon for assistance, which he did not want to do before someone else who needed it more. Borrow from a neighbor and repay when work comes, or cut meals, skip one, stretch the cornmeal further. He chooses the cornmeal. He starts the beans on the stove. All right, she gets home at 10:45 at night. The children are asleep. The man has left a bowl on the stove, beans and bread kept warm. She sits down at the table without taking off her coat because the apartment is cold, and she is tired in the specific way that comes from 14 hours of physical labor that never fully stops. She worked past the employer's dinner, past the children's bedtime, past the point where anyone in the house was making requests. She kept working because that is the arrangement. There is no clock out. There is no overtime. There is a door she can leave through when the employer no longer has use for her, and that is the only definition of done available to her. They talk quietly. He tells her about the relief office. She already knows how that goes. She tells him she brought home a bit of salt pork the employer had left over. It is wrapped in a cloth in her bag. It will stretch the beans another 2 days. The physical danger is not something they discuss directly. It is ambient, the way weather is ambient. It is there in how he phrased the route he walked tonight, the block he went around rather than through. A neighbor was stopped by police last week for being in the wrong part of the city after dark. Another man, a few streets over, was questioned about a crime no one believes he committed. The vigilance required to move safely through public space in 1933 as a black man or woman is constant and largely invisible to anyone outside of it. It shapes which streets you take, what time you come home, how you hold your posture, what you say and do not say to a white man who is looking at you the wrong way. Lynchings in the United States were not a relic of the distant past by 1933. There were 28 recorded that year, up from 8 the year before. That number does not include the incidents that were never recorded. The threat did not require daily confrontation to shape daily behavior. It was a background condition, like cold air. It was just there. Yeah, on Sunday, the church is full. This is not an escape from the week. It is a continuation of it. The church is where the week gets processed, organized, and aimed at the next week. Ella Baker, 28 years old, already organizing rent strikes in Harlem, has a small table near the back where she takes down names and addresses of families facing eviction. The deacon reads out the names of families who gave to the collection so that other families could eat. The choir sings and the sound fills the building, and for an hour the weight of the arithmetic lifts, not because anything has been resolved, but because being in a room with 100 people who understand exactly what you are carrying is itself a form of relief that no federal program had found a way to provide. This is what endurance looked like. Not heroic, not extraordinary, quiet, organized, practical, and relentless. The man and the woman will do it again Monday and Tuesday, and every day after that for as long as the Depression holds, which it will for most black families well past the point where the official economic recovery is declared. Because the systems that depressed black wages and excluded black workers from New Deal benefits did not dissolve when the economy turned around. They became the foundation for the next set of policies. Redlining, GI Bill exclusions, federal housing that was segregated by design. The Depression did not end equally because it had not begun equally. Okay, here is what the day actually cost. The man worked 0 hours and earned $0. He received no relief from the federal office. He ate once at the church. He will make up a fraction of this week's rent shortfall by stretching the food further and hoping a truck comes by Tuesday. The woman worked roughly 15 hours. She earned the equivalent of 50 cents for the day plus salt pork. She will return to the same house tomorrow at 6 a.m. Between them, they held the household together for one more day. The children slept. The beans are on the stove for tomorrow. The rent notice is still on the door, but Monday has not come yet. Black Americans enter the Depression already behind, systematically excluded from the prosperity of the 1920s, already pushed to the lowest wage, least secure work available. When the crash came, they were hit roughly twice as hard as white Americans. When the federal government responded, the relief was administered by local officials who largely continued the same hierarchy. And when the economy eventually recovered, the recovery was shaped by housing policy, loan access, and labor markets that excluded black families from the wealth-building instruments that lifted the white middle class. The Great Depression was not one crisis. For black Americans, it was a second floor of crisis built on top of a first. And the people who survived it did not survive by waiting for the system to change. They built their own floor out of soup kitchens and rent strikes and church collections and careful arithmetic at a kitchen table by lamplight. If you want to understand wealth in America, how it was built, who built it, and who was structurally prevented from building it, this single day in 1933 is one of the clearest windows available. The numbers were not random. The exclusions were not accidents. And the people living inside those numbers were not passive. They were doing the same thing anyone does when the math doesn't add up. They found another way to make it add up, and they showed up the next morning and did it again.